We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and host of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
Go away, I don't want to talk today.
Hello and good evening and welcome to the Pitch Live syndicated internet reality broadcast powered by Innovate Globally, known as IGLY. I'm your host, Shelon Douglas, and we're streaming to you live here at latalklive.com, bringing real talk over the internet and smartphones to startups within the fields of technology, education, entertainment, and the media industries. Thank you so much for tuning in, where we'll be broadcasting every Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m. Pacific to discuss topics that are relevant within the tech industry from some of the most successful and prestigious industry experts, entrepreneurs, and investors. Also, Pitch Live wants to cater to tech startups for a chance to demo your digital products right here live on air for a chance to win big. At the second part of every show, 6 startups will have the opportunity to pitch live before a panel of judges and our digital audience, who will cast their vote on who they believe gave the best pitch. Those pitches will all have the opportunity to move and go on to the next level, which is our Pitch Live on stage. Winners and finalists will gain access to IGLY Steamy resources, exposure, brand awareness, and here's a big one, capital funding, to help scale and accelerate their digital business models. So for more information on how to participate and be selected to pitch live on air, for a chance to win endless opportunities offered right here on Pitch Live, please visit our website, which is at www.pitchlivetowin.com. Today's show is featured on best practices of pitching before investors, and we have some really good panelists who are our invited guests that know specifically too well about this topic. So tonight's guests on our show includes Tyrone Howard, Jam Narte, and Derek Smith. At this time, I would like to go ahead and welcome Tyrone Howard and give you a little bit of information on his background. Tyrone Howard is a co-founder and CEO of a hyper-local app that uses a hyper-local app that uses your smartphone to make it easy to talk face-to-face. It's called Get Social, and it is the new old-fashioned way to meet people. Welcome, Tyrone.
Thank you for having me, Shelon.
Thank you for being here. Yep. Our next invited special guest is Jam Narte. Now, her bio is a little bit longer, y'all, so I'm going to take my time to read this because it's so important, and I'm just so impressed. When I had a chance and opportunity to take a look at it earlier, I was totally impressed and blown away. So here we go. Jam Narte is a Cal State Dominguez Hills alumna, class 2014, with a degree in healthcare management. As an undergrad, she participated in several research projects under behavioral science and gerontology. Did I say that right? What is that?
Gerontology.
Gerontology.
It's more for like older adults, senior citizens.
Okay, see, I needed some education on that. Right after graduation, Jam, together with 2 other friends, founded a hardware startup company that raised $132,000, y'all, in Kickstarter and over $1.5 million in seed investments. Very impressive. With 4,000 units sold to date as of today. Her company, Bezalel Inc., am I saying that correctly? Yeah. How cool. Got accepted into the prestigious USC Vertibi Startup Garage Incubator Program, where only 10 startup companies are selected and accepted each year. Since Kickstarter, Jam and her team have been featured by major media outlets, including the LA Times, ABC News Channel 7, USA College Today, TechCrunch, and a lot more. Whew, girl, that's a lot. The company has attracted the attention of product design and marketing executives of Target, Best Buy, and Apple stores. Jam has led lengthy negotiation talks with these executives in the company's Marina Del Rey office, provided by USC. And Bezalel Inc. is now housed in Central La Playa del Rey. which is impressive. And we'd like to welcome Jim to the radio show. Thank you for coming. Next in the house, y'all, is Derek Smith. He is the founder of Talk New York City and LA, a digital media think tank focused on addressing emerging issues, sharpening the intersection between Madison Avenue and Silicon Valley. In addition to Talk New York City and Talk LA, he is the digital marketing evangelist and branding expert by trade. Derek has worked with many leading global brands. With a primary focus on digital marketing trends, he has developed a keen understanding of the complex relationship that exists between advertisers and brands. Derek has consulted and worked with some of the world's most prominent brands, among whose number are Corbis Images, Sab Miller Breweries, NBA, Microsoft Advertising, Nestle, Dove, and Ritz Crackers. Woo! You guys, your bios are just so totally impressive. Throughout his career, Derek has held a number of key positions, including that of Business Development Director, Brand Strategist at Young and Rubicam and Wonderman. He enjoys good food and unplanned traveling adventures, which he just got back, y'all, from getting right off the plane in Atlanta City and came straight to the station. So we really appreciate him. And he also is a former board member of Sustainable South Bronx. Welcome, Derek.
Thank you.
Wow. So you guys, I'm totally grateful to have you here as our invited guest and our panel of judges today. I've had the opportunity to work with all of you from our last most prestigious event called Startup Weekend. We had a really good time, and I just thought it was so appropriate to have you guys come onto the show today so that we could talk about the best practices of how to pitch, especially before an investor. So at this time, what I would like to do is, let's start with you, Tyrone. Ask you a question so that you can get the audience engaged with our show this evening.
What's up, Shelon?
What made you, if you could tell us, what made you choose a career in the field of technology?
I just sort of fell into it, actually.
Okay.
I've always been interested in tech,
Mhm.
whether it's cars, smartphones before there were smartphones or anything else,
Mhm.
and then I just sort of fell into it.
Okay, so
Yeah.
do you live, eat, breathe technology like I do?
now, and yes, I do. That's all I do all day, every day.
Stay up long, endless nights, right?
There's a word that starts with a V. I can't remember what it's vacation? I can't remember what it's called.
Oh,
I
like
haven't-
vegan?
Vacation? Something like that. I don't know. I never heard of that.
Vacation, what is that? We don't
Vacation.
understand
I don't
that
even know
word.
what that means anymore.
Okay, so, all right, then, Derek, I'll move to you with our next question. You just hosted an event at Plug-in LA for startups, which, by the way, I was totally impressed with your stage presence. I thought that all the startups there did a fairly well job at pitching, and I could tell that even there, those startups were at a different stage at acceleration in their business models, right?
Mm-hmm.
So my question for you is, for startups that seem to be past the pre-seed stage, what's the most important thing that you witnessed for those startups before actual investors?
What are those things that I've witnessed before
pitching before an actual investor? So for example, you helped also at Startup Weekend, right? So you could tell that those pitches at Startup Weekend were at a different stage, right?
Sure.
In their presence with their business model versus what we saw at your event.
Sure.
So what would you say is, some of the key things between the different stages with the pitches with all the startups that participated that needs to be prepared to go before an investor?
Sure. No, I think first and foremost, you want to have a product that is ready to go, even if it's in beta. You want to have a product that you've launched, that you're testing, that you've managed to get in front of who you perceive to be your target user or customer. Getting your product in front of those people as quickly as possible and getting feedback from them, and understanding whether or not the problem that you're trying to solve is in fact the problem that the end user wants you to solve in terms of what their needs are. So the faster and quicker you can sort of tell that story, the better off you'll be when you begin to approach investors to tell your story, right? Because in theory you should have data that says we have this interesting model, we've tested it, we know that we have an economic engine here, and we think it's worth X amount of dollars, and we need you, the investor, to get us to that next level.
Okay. So let me ask you a quick question. Do you think that it's important for startups to have already acquired customers versus users? And do you understand what I mean by that? Because
Sure.
some startups, you know, like for example, we tell the pre-seed or the, I'll just call them the baby. I want to say baby boomers, but that's really like something else. But those who are first getting into this game, right, that really want to get their startup off the ground, we tell them to focus more on the user acquisition versus customer acquisition. So do you think that you have to have customer acquisition before actually getting capital funding or backing?
No, not at all. I mean, there have been several examples of companies that have never seen a dime come through their door that have gone on to get significant investment to grow and scale their businesses. I think at the end of the day, that answer is driven by the category and the business of the startup team, right, and their product. I think that will determine, whether or not revenue precedes user acquisition.
Okay.
And it also depends on the investors that you're going after.
Okay.
Some companies or angel investors want to, some early stage investors want to see revenue, even though you might have a significant amount of users before they decide to invest in the business. And then some early stage investors don't necessarily need to see that. They just want to see user growth. So it really depends, and this is where entrepreneurs have to do their research. They have to understand who are the people that they're soliciting for investment, and get a quick understanding of what is their investment history, and track the types of businesses that they go out and fund, and what does their portfolio look like, and whether or not that investor is even in theory a good fit for their business idea.
Right.
And that's an old way of looking at it too. Some companies, I mean, in this market, some VCs or investors will say, oh, we're category agnostic. We don't really care anymore. We don't. So it just really depends at the end of the day on the types of companies that you're targeting for investment, and what their MO is, their mode of operation.
Okay. And I heard you while you were explaining that, when you talked about how it depends on what type of investors that you go before. So we know in this game that we have angel investors versus VCs, right? So would any of you like to tap on the difference between the two, and how you would go about to pitch, or know if you're even ready? Because I can't tell you how many times I've had people, feel that they have such a great idea because they're so passionate about their startup, and they're just looking for an investor, but they don't understand there's a difference between an angel investor and a VC, venture capitalist, by the way, y'all. That's what that means. So would any of you like to touch on that? Jam?
Well, so for angel investors, what I know what angels are, like if you have an idea that they're like the investor, they're like your angels, like they will support you, and I feel like most angel investors are more active than VCs. They'll actually give you a little bit more control than VCs will. And then, of course, they probably will take less equity, probably zero, little to nothing. But they do give less amount than VCs usually do.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would say that would be the main difference. And then angel investor, again, they're all for the idea. Compared to VCs, they probably would want either a beta version of the product or some sort of user acquisition or market growth already for your product or your idea.
I think too, and that's a good explanation, by the way. I think it's very important for the startup to actually know what their goal is. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, do they want to give up so much of a percentage and control if they want to go to a VC versus an angel investor? An angel investor is not trying to take over the company per se by owning over 50%. And I think it's important that our audience should know that, because you do have a lot of people who, believe it or not, they don't do the homework like they should, right? But I want to go on to our next question, and this is for the whole panel. And I want to ask you guys if you can talk about some of the best practice key points that startups need to know that can either help or hinder them from receiving capital backing. Tyrone, would you like to take a shot at that first?
Yeah, actually, hinder. A good one, and I've seen this so many times, not listening to the question. They ask you
Yeah.
the question and you answer something else and you never get to their question. They'll rephrase it. Some of them will. They'll rephrase it, try to get you to answer it again, but they still don't answer it. Listen to the question. I
Right.
think that's very, very important.
Wow.
Yeah.
Excellent. What about you, Jam?
For me, it's always practice your slides.
Right.
At the end of the day, you are the only one that knows what's the next slide's going to be. So some startups will just think they can wing it because they know better. But
Right.
at the same time, like, these investors seen hundreds or probably thousands of pitches that, you know, you can't really just do that. And again, if they will ask you questions, it's just best to just practice your slides, be comfortable with it. So then if anything goes wrong with your deck, you won't panic.
Right?
Yeah.
Especially, right, if and we've seen this where you might have a glitch with the technology. I mean, I was having a little bit of issues before we got started today, right? So we had to actually share the laptops at Startup Weekend because we had some glitches, right? So you have to be prepared whether or not you can, if you're going to just go flow with it and pitch without any slides. And in fact, I noticed that that's what we witnessed at Plug-in LA last, was it Wednesday or Tuesday evening, one of those nights, where the last participant or the last pitch, he just decided to just do away with his slide deck. Do you know why he did that? I'm just curious.
I don't know what the exact answer is, but I suspect that he felt the demo of the product would have taken away from what the key points were that he
Okay.
needed to convey about his product. So
Okay.
I think it worked okay with him not diving into the screenshots of their actual software platform.
Okay. Now, see, so did the judges have anything to say? Did you hear feedback about that? Because me, as sitting in the audience, I really wanted to see those visuals. I just was a little disappointed that I didn't see. I mean,
Sure.
if that's what I'm there for, but because his product sounded great, but to have a visual added to that, you know, I just was curious, did he get dinged for that from the judges or?
Yeah, no one came back and said, you know, everyone has to demo their product. I mean, look,
Okay.
it's helpful when you can show the fruits of your labor, but it's not essential. I think you can excite people about what your idea is if it's, you know, presented and packaged well without the actual product being in front of the
In front.
investor.
Okay. Okay. And then I also want you to touch on a question that I just asked for the panel, which was what could help or hinder a pitch, you know, before an investor, whether or not, you know, what are some of the best practices that you feel or think that can help or hinder?
I think passion is always going to carry you over and get you to sort of stand out in the eye of the beholder of the purse. And I think too much dependence on a presentation can also hinder you. If you're so worried about the cosmetic stuff around your pitch and it, you know, how it looks and the functionality of like a PowerPoint or keynote presentation, I think you need to be able to remove yourself from a presentation and really get people excited about what it is you're trying to build or the problem you're trying to solve, independent of the physical presentation. So I think that could be a hindrance to your point,
Okay.
or, you know, to answer the question.
Okay. Okay. This is a question that just came to my mind. And this is like open discussion. But what do you think a standard pitch should, the length of time that should be? Because we all know about that 30-second pitch, right? So do you think it should be 30 seconds, 15 seconds nowadays, a minute, you know, just kind of curious, you know, because it's kind of hard to really be able to like get what you want to get across in 30 seconds. But I think up to, you know, maybe a minute, it should be good. What do you guys think about that?
Well, for me, I have a 30-second ready, and I also have a minute ready, but that's just the 30-second one slowed down where I just talk at a normal pace, being cool. I have a 5-minute ready, a 10-minute, and a 20-minute.
Okay.
So it
What
all
about
just
you?
depends.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
would say the same. Like elevator pitch, usually a minute or less, and then I have my 5-minute, and then I have my 12 minutes.
Okay. And Derek, just curious.
I agree with both Jam and Tyrone in terms of just having different lengths of what your pitch is. But again, I think you can't be so linear in how you think about your pitch. You're not always going to be in front
Right.
of somebody on stage trying to sell your idea. I think
Right.
you really have to be able to convey
Mm-hmm.
passion about
Right.
what you're doing, but
Right.
be intelligent about how you communicate what it is you're trying to do, because there are going to be instances where where you just might meet someone who you might not think is an investor,
Mm-hmm.
and that person might end up being an investor based on how you talk about the problem, based on how you talk about the problem you're trying to solve.
Right.
And there have been many examples of entrepreneurs that have secured funding on napkins or
Right.
at coffee or
Does that
at
still
dinner.
exist?
Well, yes, of course
Yeah.
it does. Of course it does. And this is why we can't be
Yeah.
so linear in how we think about what a pitch is, because it really is about how you communicate to people and how you come across to people when it comes to the work that you're investing in, really, because you're putting yourself in this business or idea. So you really have to be, you got to be passionate about it. People can read that in like less
Right.
than 30 seconds.
Right.
You don't need somebody to talk about it for 2 minutes to get a sense as to whether or not they're really sort of passionate about it.
And so while I'm talking to you, Derek, another question came to mind. And I get this a lot. And in fact, we even kind of witnessed this at Startup Weekend. What about if someone asks you about signing an NDA? Like, what is your thoughts on that? And will that work in the tech, at least within the technology sector?
I think it's just a standard business practice, and depending on your product, and depending on the individual, I mean, there's nothing wrong with being asked to sign an NDA, to get insight into what a business is, and I usually fill them out if people ask me to, or in the small instances where that question has come up, I've asked people to sign an NDA and they haven't, they didn't.
Now, see, that's interesting because I always
Hesitate.
tell them, don't even bother asking, because 9 times out of 10, an investor is not going to sign it. At least that's how it's been for me in the last 6 years that I've been heavy into this tech game. So it's really interesting to hear, your take on that. But just what about you, Jam? Have you asked an investor?
Yeah, and I don't know if it's because ours is actual hardware, or I don't know if it's the same for all products, but as for hardware companies, that's very important, especially if you are just in like your beta stage, or there's still a lot of development needed, and that's why you need the funding. There's just a lot, and if we're pitching to big companies that has all the resources in the world to take that idea into the next level, we can't risk that.
Gotcha.
And luckily, 100% of the time they have no problem signing it, and some of them, it's actually a good sign for us to hear an investor actually ask, hey, do you have an NDA, and can we talk about this more after I sign it?
Okay.
And that's like a great thing for us, because then we know that they really want to learn everything, and at the same time it gives us a security that that not that person at least will just take whatever they heard and or seen.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So.
Good. Well, Jim, I also have another question for you. Specifically for you, because you are another woman in tech besides myself at the table. So my question for you is, as a woman in tech, tell us what you've experienced when sharing your tech startup before an investor. And I really am happy that you're here, because I had overheard you speaking to someone else. I was eavesdropping. And when you were kind of speaking about your experience, I was sitting there and I was like just cheerleading for her in the background, like, yes, I know what she's talking about. So share with us your experience about that.
Yeah, so there's like the good and the bad, and again, I think experience also added into that, and I'm coming straight from college, not an engineer, so that's already a thing, that I'm not an engineer and I'm
Gotcha.
doing a hardware startup.
Gotcha.
And so that's one. So every time I come in, and my name's not really the most feminist name ever, so then I will email someone for a whole month, and they're responding all day, 30 days responding, and then my signature is blue and it says Jam, and then they see me, and then the first thing they will say is, "Oh, you're a girl." And then so at first I got really like stunned and shocked, and that yes, I am, like, is that a problem now,
Right.
So I got really scared the first time that scared / offended / I don't know how to feel or react when
Right.
those investors, and again in my head I'm like, oh my gosh, they're very educated, very rich people, and then
Intimidated.
yeah, and for them to say, oh, you're a girl, and I don't know what to say at that point. But now I do. Now I just say, yeah, I'm still a girl, you know. But but before I don't know
Who rocks, right?
Yeah, but before I don't know how to react to that. So I would say that would be the bad thing is, again, because on top of that I am very small in stature. So all of that, it's just like the wrong mix. But at the same time, it now it depends on how you can make that work.
Okay.
So after talking to several investors and getting the same feedback from like that kind of feedback, now I know how to like ease my way through them to make it light. But that would be, I would say, the worst. Is for them to say, "Oh, you're a girl," and for them to just have their attitude change like 180 of being so excited before the meeting, and now all of a sudden they know they think they know your product more than you do.
Right, because you are a woman.
Because I'm a woman.
Do you think it's easier to go before a woman investor versus a male investor? Just curious.
I would say 50-50 too, because I had experience with women investors.
Wow, really? A woman kind of wanted to
and
take
I don't
you there?
No, but at the same time, I don't know if it's just my ego that I'm intimidated that that's another woman very successful sitting in front of me, and in my head I'm like, why am I not her? But you know, but at the same time,
you actually might be smarter than her. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. No.
Okay.
But you know, at the same time, like they ask me, and I have two guys with me, the actual engineers, but they pinpoint on me and ask me more of credibility of, why are you there? Why are you doing hardware? Why are you not doing something else?
Wow.
So, and I again, I don't know if they're just digging into those questions, but the other side, majority of women investors, they're part of investing firms that actually support women C-level executives in their own startup companies, especially in hardware, so that we got several pre-seed or seed investments from groups that will only talk to me because I'm a woman and I'm in a hardware startup. And they will only support, and that's one of their category, that they will only support startups that has a woman co-founder. So that I love that.
Right. You feel like
the
you have
others,
a bigger opportunity.
Yeah, and which I'm starting to see now, that there's a lot of investment group out there that do want to encourage more women entrepreneurs, especially in a hardware tech setting.
Got you.
Yeah,
I really strongly believe in being a representation of, especially being, if you guys haven't checked, I'm African American and I'm a woman, right? So there's been plenty of times where I have gone to events, and I like to call myself a chameleon because I can have a suit, you know, like a three-piece suit on, and of course you don't see anybody in tech dressing like that. Or I can go to an event, and I, like today, I have on my vest and a little t-shirt, and I actually have on my Chucks, even though the audience can't see it. And I love how I can change like that, but I am truly in tech, you know. And the fact that being a representation of showing other women and young girls of color, you know, that, hey, we belong in this game too. We are innovators just like anyone else, and we can help change the world, right, with dynamic products. So, you know, with that being said, and I'm looking at the clock here, I want to tap into real quick, which we can kind of get into when we come back. And this question will be for the whole panel. And it will be to talk about some of the important elements that you think should be included in a pitch. And then after that, we can definitely get into some mock-up pitches here. We have a couple of our startups here to do some demo presentations. So before they get started, I just think our audience could be entertained by that question, and then we can kind of go into some of the pitches. What you guys think?
Yeah. Sounds like a plan.
Sounds like a plan. All right. Well, we will be taking a commercial break at this time, and we'll come back. We'll be back to you shortly. Thank you.
We know there are many choices in internet radio, and the staff and hosts of LA Talk Live would like to thank you for choosing the internet's hottest destination for the most eclectic sound and invigorating talk. This is LA Talk Live. We are more than just talk.
It started out like a totally normal day.
I love you.
I mean, I guess I was a little sweaty and I was definitely sore. I thought I had gas. Turns out I was having a heart attack. Heart disease is the #1 killer of American women. So now I take care of myself and tell the other women in my life to do the same. Make it your mission to save your life and the lives of the women you love. Find out more from the American Heart Association at goredforwomen.org.
Hi, this is Shelon Douglas, inviting you to join us every Tuesday, 6 p.m. Pacific, to demo your startup on air with a Pitch Live to Win syndicated digital broadcasting show. Join us as we share real conversations from real industry experts within the tech, education, media, and entertainment industries for your chance to win opportunities that will gain you access to resources, exposure, and capital. So remember to tune in to the Pitch Live Tuesdays at 6 p.m. Pacific, exclusively on latalklive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, TuneIn Radio, AHA Radio, TiVo Radio, and Apple TV Radio. Or watch us and listen directly at latalklive.com. Reality broadcast handcrafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Starlet Quarles, and I'm inviting you to join us every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. for a new show right here on LA Talk Live, The Dialogue, Real Talk, Real People. Join us as we discuss the topics that are relevant to today's generational leaders. So don't forget to tune in to The Dialogue, Real Talk, Real People, every Wednesday from 5 to 6 p.m. right here on latalklive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, and now Stitcher Radio. Or watch and listen directly at latalklive.com. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hi, this is Rhonda Ray, inviting you to join us every Thursday, 6 p.m. Pacific, for Hot Chicks Live. Join us as we discuss the latest fashion, entertainment, sports, and more. So don't forget to tune in to Hot Chicks Live every Thursday, 6 p.m. Pacific, exclusively on latalklive.com. You can also catch us on iTunes Radio R&B, Live 365, Radio Flag, TuneIn Radio, AHA Radio, TiVo Radio, and Apple TV Radio, or watch and listen directly at latalklive.com. Reality radio handcrafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk.
Hey, shout us out. What's the count? I'm your host. I am WDC. Tune in to WDC Radio on LA Talk Live every Saturday at 4 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Time for sickle cell trait awareness, lupus, bullying, mental health, and all different aspects of life. So tune in to WDC Radio right here on LA Talk Live. Also, you can listen to us on iTunes, Live 365, YouTube, and Ustream. And don't forget Apple TV and Roku right here on LA Talk Live, where we're more than just talk. Shout us out. What's the count?
Welcome back to the second part to Pitch Live, to see some of our startups in action right here live in our studio, streaming live on latalklive.com, where we will now see some of our demonstrations from a few of our startups that will pitch to our panel of judges and be asked some questions regarding their own demo products. Each startup will have approximately 3 minutes to pitch their startup, followed by 2 minutes of questions and answers held by our panel of judges, and also will have a chance to hear valuable feedback And from there, but before we get started, I want to go ahead and I want to repeat the question that I had asked prior to commercial, right? Because I know Tyrone, he already said he forgot the question.
Point me out.
Because I can pick on you. No, just kidding. You're so close to me, right? So the question, and this is for all the panel, and just give one simple point to this question, which is, what would you say is the most important element that should be included in a pitch presentation? Go. Tyrone, you first.
Storytelling.
Storytelling.
Yeah.
Jam.
I would say passion. Steal Derek's idea.
Passion.
Yeah.
Okay. Derek.
Communicating the problem you're solving.
Excellent. I like that one. Okay. Well, without further ado, we have an opportunity to take a little mock of an actual pitch from our startup that's going to go first. The name of the startup is called Energy Hunter, and it is being presented by our very own Dylan Douglas. So from this point, Dylan, you have 3 minutes. After your 3 minutes, you would have to stop and be asked questions from our panel of judges. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Go.
Hi, my name is Dylan Douglas. I'm here to introduce my game app called Energy Hunter. Energy Hunter is a RPG role-playing game that's made for providing our next generation of children education on saving energy and education on our natural resources. So, see, now, the problem that we have nowadays is that children, they don't like to save energy, save electricity, run water, so on and so forth. So we want to provide this game to teach them a bunch of, puzzles, tips, tricks, and brain teasers upon saving energy and learning about our natural resources. Mm-hmm. Our target market is for all ages 10 and up. We actually did a survey, and 70% of parents and children said that they would buy our game. We have a little bit of competition out there. Game of Wars, Clash of Kings, Summoner Wars, etc. And they all have the same 3D graphics that we have, but their games are mostly based on violence and not education that which we provide. Mm-hmm. Our game, what makes our game so engaging is that we have better graphics, better battle scenarios, a mind-blowing story, so on and so forth. So, you can visit our website at energyhunter.cotechiq.com/WordPress.
Excellent. You did pretty good. So our panel of judges, hear the claps. You guys, any one of you can start.
Wow. I don't have much. That was really good. You went through the competitors, how you're going to do things different. You went through a lot of different things. If I have to give one note, I would just say make eye contact with us. Look at us every once in a while.
My apologies.
But besides that, all good. But besides that, on point. Good stuff.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I guess my question would be, how are you going to make us money from that? How do you make money from that app?
We were going to have in-game purchases. And we are also going to have different versions. So there was going to be a demo version, a light version, and a paid-for version.
How much time do you think your target audience will spend playing the game?
Well, our game, normally regular... I'm sorry?
On average.
Our game isn't limited with the amount of energy that you can use, so they can play for as long as they want. Most RPG games like Brave Frontier and such have a limited time bar or energy bar, and once you use it all up, you can't play anymore. Our game doesn't have that. You can play for as long as you want, whenever you want, with whomever you want.
Got it.
What are some of your... Do we have time for another question?
No, not
Nope.
really.
Okay.
I would like to ask for Dylan to tell the audience your age.
I'm 17.
Excellent. That's wonderful. So thank you so much, Dylan, for coming and being a representation for Energy Hunter. We'll go ahead and we'll move to our next startup pitch. So thank you for coming, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks. Glad to be here.
So you guys, I thought that was very impressive. I had a couple of questions too, but because of sake of time, we have to move on to our next. So without further ado, to just keep it going, and we'll have more. We'll be able to give a little bit of feedback after all of the pitches too, by the way, you guys. So without further ado, let's go for our second startup. We will have a presentation done by our very own, I can't even talk, Jamil Muhammad, and he is representing Beat Flash. Welcome, Jamil.
Hello.
Are you ready?
Not really. I wasn't really prepared.
Was you supposed to always stay prepared, right? So you don't have to what?
Not be prepared.
Not get prepared, right?
Oh, yeah.
So what we're going to do is you have 3 minutes to do a presentation of your pitch. Once your 3 minutes is up, then you will have questions from our panel of judges. All right? So when I say start, get ready. Go.
Beat Flash is the new in-house motion surround sensor where it notifies your phone when there's not detecting motion in the room. And, well, it'll notify your phone when you have the lights on too long. See, the problem is we seem to go in the room and turn on the light and then go to another room, turn on the light, which wastes energy. And then at the end of the month, we're like, why is my light bill so high, you know? Well, Beat Flash, it will give you a 2-minute time period when it's not detecting motion in the room. So if you walk out the room 2 minutes later, it would notify your phone playing a 5-second loop of a song you like or whatever, giving you the option to turn it off or leave it on. It's your option. Our competition is Lexicon, I believe. Well, but the difference between Beat Flash and Lexicon is the light sensor where you just swipe your hand against the light and then it turns the light off. With Beat Flash, it's a motion sensor where it will detect movement in the room, which is pretty cool. This is for homeowners. Yeah, mainly homeowners or stay-at-home moms, or you know. Yeah.
What about besides your target market? What about the ask, or how do you plan on making money with your app?
I plan it's gonna be a free app, but the device, the in-house motion sensor device, it's gonna cost to get installed in your house.
Okay.
Yes.
And so that's all you have for us?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you, Jamil. Judges, let's start with Derek first.
So the installation of the device will happen through what? Retail? You have to go into the store, buy the device, and then you can install it manually, or do you have to call somebody out to install it into the house?
I was thinking both, but then I got the idea that it would be better if we made it an actual product where you can go into a Target or a Best Buy and get it.
Okay.
Yes.
Jam.
So I have a hardware startup. How are you guys manufacturing that actual device that goes into the house? Or who's a team that's gonna make that?
I don't have a team. This is just an idea. But if I had a mentor, I would ask my mentor to help me build a team where we can start this.
Excellent answer. Tyrone.
2 things. One, if you gotta have an ask, that would be one. You could have put that into your pitch. I'm looking for mentors right now and advisors, anyone who can help me. This is my experience. I'm looking for someone who can help me with financial, sales, whatever it may be. The second thing is, do you pay light bills at your house?
No.
So how'd you come up with this idea?
Because my mom, interesting story is my mom, well, Shelon helped me with the idea, but my mom, one day, my brother, he would just go in the room while he's playing the video games, leave the light on, and then he'll fall asleep, and the light would be on all night. Then in a month, she'll be like, the light bill would be higher than what it was the previous month. Yeah. And
so do you think the music would have woke your brother up if he was using your app?
Yes, it would have. Yeah, it would have notified my mom to wake up and go turn the light on.
I just have one quick comment. So, and when it comes to like when you're pitching, I think hearing that story was probably a good start. It's just to hear it like straight from, so my mom, blah, 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 or my brother sleeps with the lights on, you know, and like start with that, and then it's then you'll probably be more comfortable with it because it's your personal story, you know, it's from your personal experience.
Yes, thank you.
Excellent. I'm sorry.
I was just gonna say, and you can from there talk about the bill, the light bill and the electric bill, you know, just sort of being higher on certain months, and you wanting to sort of address that,
which is a problem, right? Well, Jamil, thank you so much for coming out to the show.
You're welcome.
Well, see you next time. You did a good job. Thank you. Okay, you guys. So far, so good, right? We have one more pitch to be demoed here in our station on latalklive.com. And at this time, I would like to introduce our third startup, and it's being pitched by Nick Cates, and the name of this startup is called Start You Up. Is that correct, Nick?
Start You Up Now.
Start You Up Now. All right. So, Nick, you've heard our two previous pitches.
Yeah.
You have 3 minutes to do your pitch, and then after 3 minutes, we open it up for questions and answer for about 2 more minutes after that and get feedback. All right?
Perfect.
So when I say start, you can go ahead. Start.
I feel like I've benefited from all the feedback from the other guys, and actually it's interesting because the Start You Up Now is a game app that basically teaches entrepreneurship to young people and their family and their friends and everyone from young, middle schooler and up. But it kind of started off that the co-founder and I are both involved in tutoring, extracurricular tutoring, and seeing how math and how other like hard skills are hard to kind of get through to people, to young people, and finding a fun way to get them engaged, and not teach them how to get jobs, but how to create jobs. And that's kind of the skill of the future. So rather than the Start You Up Now, rather than being a curriculum based app, is really a game app that immerses the user into a fictional town called Startup City. And basically it takes you through the steps of either getting, planning your business to get a loan or an investor or bootstrap. And then once you make these series of decisions that get you to that point, then you have to operate the actual business, and the goal is to become the biggest mogul in Startup City. So that's the kind of the idea. So you recognize that your decisions have consequences, also how you deal with unexpected circumstances. So that's the fun of the game. But the other fun of the game is that it's social. You're actually playing with and against other people that you know and people that you don't know. You're making deals, you're acquiring businesses, and you're doing all the things that you're hoping to do to make yourself and your business the biggest one in Startup City. So that's how the game works essentially. And there are other game apps out there that deal with kind of mock ecosystems or worlds that you have to build and create. There are also other game apps that are like Egg Baby or other things like that you have to tend to the actual product or else it'll live or die. So there are things like that, but our app really deals with combining both the game fake ecosystem that you're creating and the educational part, so it doesn't feel like education. The other thing is that it is social, that gives you some like words with friends or other things that you might play socially. So there is competition, but I think our unique strategy is to combine some educational aspects. The other thing is that we talk to moms and young people to kind of get a sense of whether they will be into that kind of thing, and we got a great response. 84% of the young people that we talked to said that this would be an interesting way for them to kind of to eat their peas, so to speak, and have some fun with friends. And parents even more so were engaged with this.
Our time is up.
All right. So I'm looking for an investor. I'm looking for all kinds of. We're at the startup phase, looking for investors as well as advisors and mentors to kind of help us get it off the ground.
Okay, so we're gonna. Thank you, Nick.
There's an example of how not to overtalk and just get to the point.
So, Jam, I want to start with you.
Yeah.
So, would you like to go ahead and go?
Well, I
first?
don't know. I've been just picturing SimCity and Monopoly while listening to your pitch,
Right.
and I grew up with SimCity, and I feel like now it's like a perfect time because people are aware what startups are or how starting a business right now is almost like a thing, you know. So it is relatable and it is a hip right now.
Mm-hmm.
So I can totally see like the market for it and for people to just like be buying it, and kids not just for the visuals. They actually do know something about it. It might be a very interesting game, and again, at the same time, like subconsciously, it is teaching them something. So
Right.
I like it a lot.
Great.
Yeah.
Thanks.
I just wanted to ask, so how much money do you need? What are you going to use it for? And when am I going to get my money back?
So we're at the pre-seed stage where we're building the team, trying to find the key both advisors and team members to really build this idea into a reality. We're looking for $300,000 just to get that ball rolling, and with that, our first kind of iteration could be up and running. We estimate in 6 months, and with 6 months after that, we could be at a stage where we're actually getting some revenue through our freemium model, but also in the in-app purchases that people can make to kind of continue and be a big mogul in Startup City.
Derek?
Great pitch, great idea. So the actual game isn't built yet.
No, it is not.
Okay, got it.
Right.
How do you do you envision this as being a game that's available on Android and Apple phones, or is there a specific platform that you're focusing on for your launch? Where do you want to build out the game in the first phase?
We see it as starting on iOS. The idea is that some conventional wisdom is that iOS users are more inclined than other users to purchase additional things, as opposed to Android users who are so inclined to take free that they may be less inclined to take some of the premium aspects. So we would start with iOS. That's our strategy.
And my other last question is, have you thought about your marketing plan to drive downloads, and what does that look like?
Well, one major thing that I didn't get to is that we feel like the schools themselves, like school systems, both public and private, would be a great audience because of the and also after school kind of programs as to get their engagement, to build users that way organically, and then also through word of mouth, social media marketing, and really using those first adopters to kind of get the word out, and hopefully the social aspects of the game itself help to get other people getting other users getting other users, but certainly trying to use that way in to get us off the ground.
Sure, no, that's interesting. I think that's a huge opportunity if you go the school district route, because a lot of schools are starting to understand the value of teaching entrepreneurship in the school system. So, that could be interesting to drive downloads. But then also, what I'm also noticing is that their school systems are incorporating gaming into how they teach and grade students.
Right.
That could be an interesting sort of concept or app once it's built, in terms of how you position it and where you focus it to grow your market. So
good. Yeah, I agree. I think the fact that parents can play with their kids also makes it a viable kind of thing where the parents can kind of see the growth of the kids, and it's also a bonding thing from them. So they bring it home from the school, they get their parents to use it, and it kind of becomes a family opportunity.
Right. Excellent. Tyrone, you have a question?
Yes, I want to know, so you said iOS because more people they make more purchases on iOS than Android. But are you worried about the development process with iOS, where you have to submit to them and then you have to wait a little while, or would you rather go with Android instead first, so the development process would be a lot faster? And also, since you were trying to get users, not customers in the beginning, and you're doing a lot of testing, wouldn't it be better to go with Android first?
That could be a shift that we make. I mean, in the actual development process, as we get our team in place, it may actually be something that we would choose to do. So I'm certainly not close to it.
Okay. Well, I've just been cute that we actually have a caller in place. So at this moment, we'll go ahead and take a question from our caller. Thank you for calling in. How can we help you?
Yeah, great show. I've been watching it. It's always great to hear technology working with kids. I was asking more so a question in regards to, you see, the app industry right now is like really, really big. It's roughly over 100 apps a day, pretty much, are being put out there and being incubated. When you go through the incubating process with these apps, a lot of times there's a lot of money invested. What is the time and money that really, really takes to get a really good app incubated to be able to say, okay, we're going to do a soft launch? I mean, what would the time I be looking at, and what type of revenue, as far as investors, would have to get involved with?
I think this is an excellent question for Tyrone.
Hey, what's going on? So it all just depends.
Yeah, it always just depends. But I'm just saying, is there some sort of secret science? Because we also see that now in traditional, it's becoming untraditional. Even apps are becoming sponsors to be able to drive traffic to their app.
Mm-hmm.
You see that exceptionally with like even BP, which is a new automotive app that's just been launched. I mean, it's just some like what they did was like Uber,
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I understand it all depends. But is there a secret sauce? I mean, it seems like it's a big wave of people putting apps out there trying to find their niche in the marketplace.
No, there's no secret sauce. It's just going out there, trying, testing, doing a lot of testing, iterate, going out there and finding your first users and just testing. That's all you can do is test and iterate, test and iterate.
So there's really no real timeline.
No real timeline, just as quickly as possible.
Right.
But you've definitely got to collect enough data or have enough acquisition to move forward, right?
That all depends as well. That all depends as well too. That's also what Derek was talking about earlier, knowing your audience. If you're going to particular types of angels who they either have someone that's like you already and you can research, you can even call these people. A lot of times you just look at their first name, you take their first name and whatever their company is, it's at whatever that company is. You can email them and ask them how many users that they had before they went and pitched. I've done that with a lot of CEOs of companies, of startups. You go and you talk to them and say, how many people did you have before they would see you? How many phone calls did you make? Because it's not always about how much traction you have. Sometimes it's about those relationships, and you have to start those relationships a lot earlier than you think.
Yeah, I know. I have a guy who does meetups every week, and they're kind of like pitch live in a sense, but it's, instead of it being with technology, they kind of have it in regards to all sorts of types of pitches, business pitches and things of that sort. But last time I went there, they had several guys who were just doing apps, and I mean, with some of the monies that the investors was putting up was just kind of like crazy dollars. We're talking $250,000 to $500,000.
Where was this
at?
Where are you at?
What meetup is this?
Right, we all want to know. Well, I said we all want to know, what meetup did you attend, so that we can go.
Oh, it's private. Well, I mean, I can share this with Shelon. This is Ilya Shelon, but I can share this with you every week in Venice. In Venice, it's a group of Anglo guys from all sorts of different technology backgrounds. Awesome. And what they do is they're the Zuckerbergs of the world, of like this hippie world in apps, and that's what they do is they come up with these concepts and ideas, and then what they do is have a list of different investors, and some of those investors actually show up to this event and just kind of take a look at these different pitches.
Well,
and then be able to. I already know about 3 projects right now.
Ilya, I appreciate you calling in, and you had an excellent question, and I definitely will be hooking up with you real soon to get that information and share it with my peoples. Tyrone, I think he has a quick question, but
Just check out the Lean Startup. Read that book. That'll help you out.
The Lean Startup. Oh, yeah, definitely so. Well, thank you so much for calling in, Ilya. We are just about out of time, and we do appreciate that call. And Nick, thank you so much for giving an excellent pitch. By the way, I'm looking at some of our social media here tips, and they're giving hand hand claps saying that your idea is awesome, and the other pitch startups, they were impressed with that as well. So we appreciate you coming forward, all 3 pitches. And by the way, just to let you guys know, all 3 pitches that you heard this evening have been featured at our startup weekend in South Los Angeles, which was held September the 25th through the 27th. And in fact, our last pitch here, Nick Cates, they actually won first place at startup weekend, which is awesome, as we could tell why. And then Energy Hunter came in at 2nd place. So you have your young startups at 17 coming in and doing a very fairly well job, very excellent. So as we go ahead and we're wrapping up our show, you guys, I just want to say thank you so much for being able to come out, take some time in this 5 to 6 o'clock traffic to come to the studio and do Pitch Live with your host, Shelon Douglas. Really quick before we end, tell the audience how they can find you. Tyrone, go.
Tyrone at iGetSocial.com.
Not I can call Tyrone. Jam.
I'm at Jam Narte at Twitter and Instagram.
Okay. Derek?
You can stay in touch at Plugin South LA on Twitter.
Perfect. Well, thank you for tuning in, everyone. My name is Shelon Douglas, known as your innovation strategist. Until next time. Oh, by the way, come back and check us out next Tuesday. We'll be airing every Tuesday from 6 to 7 p.m. here at latalklive.com. We're a real talk for real folks. Thank you for tuning in. Have a good one.
Thank you for tuning into LA Talk Live and the Talk Live Broadcast Network, original reality radio, and crafted for your listening and viewing pleasure. This is LA Talk Live, and we are more than just talk. Stay tuned.